we saw him at the Emmy Awards, right?
We did.
In New York City.
His
the last
hair
time we
looked
saw him.
tremendous.
I mean, my gosh, the chiseled
What a quad.
head of hair. Unbelievable. The only thing better than his chiseled head of hair is his game as a writer and a reporter and a tweeter and a television information man of note. From the worldwide leader in sports. By the way, our sound man just wanted to add something, but turned his microphone off. He had it on and then hit a button.
Something, and I would have been yelled
very
at.
Good. At any rate, that's why we didn't win the Emmy, and he was part of a piece that did win an Emmy that night from the worldwide leader in sports. And on the Mercedes-Benz Vans phone line, Jeff Passan here on the Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, Jeff?
Oh, well, Rich, I too have an empty nest right now.
Oh my God! What, hold on a minute. What phone are you on? It sounds like you're talking through an auto tune. Where are you right now?
All right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get off these stupid headphones.
Oh my God!
We're going to get on.
Oh, my God.
In my ear. There we go.
Dude, you sounded like one of those 60-minute interviewees that needs to be hidden so the tobacco industry didn't come after you. Like, that's what it sounded like.
Yes.
Rich,
Charlie Brown's teacher.
Here's the thing you understand about
I was last night. So one of my kids is at camp, or going to camp tomorrow.
Okay.
And another one is on a dude ranch in rural Arizona with my parents right now.
Okay.
And I got back from a trip, and I come home, and it's just me and my wife. Like, we haven't had this for a long time, and it's great. It's quiet.
It is
Quiet
eerie.
around the house.
It's eerie. It's
but
eerie.
at the end of the night,
Yes.
I came into the room and I looked at her and I was like, you know what sucks? She's like, what? And I said, chores. And having to take the trash out because your kids normally are the ones who take it out, and having to do the dishes and having to sweep the floor.
Dude.
All the crap that you make your kids do, all of a sudden, you're the one who's got to do it again. It really gives you an appreciation for what you're putting your kids through.
What sort of Oliver Twist operation are you running there in the Passan household, Jeff? What's going on, man?
You got to teach work ethic.
No,
right?
I know. I understand that. No, you're right. You're right.
You have to make sure your children do not grow up of obnoxious privilege.
Is it wrong that in the last 3 days I haven't taken the trash out once? Is that a problem?
I don't know.
No.
I mean, how wasteful are you? Fill up quickly.
How wasteful are you? I love that. I'm very wasteful, man, including your time here on the Rich Eisen Show. So let's jump right into it, Jeff. The Freddie Freeman scenario that is unfolding here in Los Angeles is intriguing. I mean, the guy is contributing. The guy is producing like Freddie Freeman we expect him to be. But the emotional moment in Atlanta, the letting go of his agents, the quote from Clayton Kershaw saying that I hope we're not second fiddle.
Right.
It appears that a page has not been turned by Freddie Freeman yet. Let's get into it. What can you tell me about the Freeman negotiations between the Braves and his team when he was a free agent that is still festering in your estimation?
I think when it comes down to it, Freddie Freeman has said this. He wanted to be back in Atlanta. And this turned out to be a very cutthroat negotiation where Freddie Freeman's side wanted a certain number of years and a certain amount of dollars, and the Braves essentially said, we're not going to do that, and went out and traded for Matt Olson. Like, the Braves were ready to turn the page, I think, before Freddie Freeman was. And in free agency for him, for a lot of guys, it's Valhalla. Like, I'm going out there. I get to chart the course of my career and my life. I get to pick one of 30, and there's great power in that. But there is also great responsibility, and the responsibility in this situation goes beyond the baseball stuff. It dovetails directly with your life and with what makes you happy. And I think Freddie Freeman probably didn't recognize in the moment what was going to make him happiest and prioritize that and make sure to say to his agent, this is what I want to do. Dollars are not the most important thing to me. I want to be where I want to be, and where he wanted to be was Atlanta, and where he is Los Angeles. But I also think that this is the sort of thing where a few years down the road, we're just going to look at it like, hey, this was his moment of closure. This was the time where the emotion got out and where I appreciated, frankly, the way he spoke his truth and was willing to be a human being publicly and say things that you're not supposed to say. But to me, it's a lot different if he is not producing. I think the fact that he's been as good as he's been, that he's hitting 300, the on-base is almost 400, that the slugging is almost 500, it's a classic Freddie Freeman season. And there are a lot of faults that are forgiven if you're out there producing. So what Clayton Kershaw said, it's understandable. Like, I totally get it. But at the same time, I wonder if this past weekend is going to, in the long run, be seen as the time of closure, where he, to steal a cliche, he became a Dodger.
Well, the question I have is why would this be the moment where he changes representation? Is it possible he found out something he was unfamiliar with about his negotiations this past week in a tunnel, a hallway, an office, a moment, a phone call, being back in Atlanta? Is that possible,
I mean,
Jeff?
I suppose it's possible. I think he probably knows the course of how things went, though, at this point, and sometimes it takes time to process this sort of thing. I mean, the rumor throughout the industry was that he had fired his agents. He came out publicly and said he's still working through things with them.
Okay.
Buster Olney reported that he's listed as self-represented at this point, and frankly, it's all inside baseball and kind of drama. And I don't know that agent goings on are really all that material, frankly, to the general public. This is just one of those things where it's car crash and people are rubbernecking to try and understand what exactly happened, when what happened is it's done. It's in the past. It's buried. And Freddie Freeman took a pen, put it in his hand, and signed on a line that said 6 years and $160 million with the Los Angeles Dodgers.
No, and I know that, Jeff Passan. The two things that I'm just fascinated by, and then the other one I'm concerned. The fascinating one is, we've all been in negotiations. You have for your job. I have multiple times, and and I just know that you'll get at some point a last and best from your employer, with the message of, we love you, this is it, and if you come back and you push and say, well, this is mine, then that's the end of that. I learned that the hard way with ESPN in 2003, and I have used that as a frame of reference every single time I've been involved in a negotiation.
Yeah.
Did that not happen? Did Freeman think it was still possible to accept a Braves offer and then found out Matt Olson was coming? Is that literally what happened? Because that's the way I'm reading it.
There are enough stories bouncing around, enough versions of it, that I honestly don't know what the actual truth is here.
Mm-hmm.
There are some who believe he wasn't told specifically what the offers were. I have a difficult time believing that, because if that's the case, then either someone is blatantly just not doing his job, or more likely you're not asking the right questions. Like, there needs to be some agency, no pun intended, in this process, right? Like, if you are the free agent, certainly you're giving the duty to the agent to go out and negotiate on your behalf, but you need to be involved. This is your life. You need to know everything that's going on to demand knowing everything that's going on. And I think that, Freddie Freeman has been with his agency for the entirety of his career, and, that trust was there. And one just hopes that trust isn't breached in a situation like that.
Well, and again, the reason why you call it inside baseball is you and I are having a conversation about a player and an agent, and that really doesn't mean much to the common fan or any fan or the uncommon fan, what have you. But what does is that even though Freeman is producing on the field in a manner that he's gotten us accustomed to, and that the Dodgers were buying, that Clayton Kershaw still felt the need to say, I hope we're not second fiddle. And that's the thing, right? Like,
yeah,
that's
and listen,
the thing.
That's Clayton Kershaw doesn't just say things.
Exactly, right? I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I mean, I think that there represented the nicest way possible to say, hey, for all of this love you're giving the Braves, we understand it. Clayton Kershaw, a guy who has spent his entire career with the same team, certainly is in a position to understand it. But at the same time, okay, it's done. We're almost halfway through this first season. You got everything out you needed to get out. Now let's move on and go win a ring.
Jeff Passan here on the Rich Eisen Show. So is there any possibility that baseball sees the brawl between the Angels and the Mariners and does another rule change? I mean, nothing.
No.
Like, that's cool.
Listen,
they suspend, but
I don't like brawls. I take that back. I'm amused by them. I was on another program earlier today, and I will repeat what I said there. It brings out like my inner Beavis. I just sit there and I'm like, yeah, fight. You know, I get very excited about that. But then you see Archie Bradley breaks his elbow in it, and you see Anthony Rendon going out there and shoving Jesse Winker in the face with a cast on his right arm, and he's shoving with his left. And you see Phil Nevin get suspended for 10 games. You don't get suspended for 10 games if you didn't do something that was beyond the pale if you're a manager. And you see Jesse Winker get 7 games when if he had, and listen, I understand why he was as mad as he was. The reality is if Jesse Winker turns around and walks to first base, this doesn't happen. So there was clearly some fire there that was going on, and I'm sorry, it's not a surprise that 2 underachieving teams that are below 500 and that had playoff aspirations and are on the outside looking in right now want to show themselves that there's still some fight in them, and they took the figurative, Rich, and made it literal.
So why wouldn't baseball, at the very least, automatically suspend anybody who comes in from a bullpen? Anybody who runs 300 feet to join a fray. And if I'm not mistaken, 2 of the players who got suspended.
That's a very interesting question. I had this debate with my dad probably a month or so ago.
Okay.
And his thing was, if you come off the bench, then you should be suspended. And my problem with that is, if that's the rule that's in place, it's 1 on 9. Right? It's the batter against an entire team. And what happens if that entire team happened to be the aggressors? If you're a teammate of a guy who's out there literally on an island, you want to go in and make sure he's safe. And that's why J.P. Crawford was coming over the top with his forearm strikes, and that's why Julio Rodriguez was in the middle of it. They were out there to stick up for their guy, and I don't blame them for that. Like, I appreciate sticking up for your teammate, but remember, there have been scenarios where I think it was maybe Hunter Strickland threw a pitch at someone, and the guy really wanted to charge him out, and Buster Posey could have held him back and didn't. And Buster Posey was essentially saying, I'm so tired of this. Yeah, just go beat him up. It's fine. Maybe he'll learn something if he gets punched in the face. I do think that players are going to look at this, Rich, and say 7 games is a lot of time to miss for Jesse Winker, and especially if I'm on a playoff caliber team, I can't afford to miss that time if I'm one of the more productive players, if I'm one of the more important players on the team, because if I do, it could be the difference between our team making the playoffs and not.
I know, and Tepera and Iglesias, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's the second inning. I'm assuming they entered the fray from the bullpen. But if you were suspending a manager like Nevin 10 games, right, and Winker 7, you're clearly trying to stop this. You're clearly trying to create a deterrent. Why would you then? Why would you allow 20 more people to enter a fray, Jeff? Like, why would you do that? Why just say, you guys, let this 22 on 22 is fine, right? Like there's whoever or how many people are on a major league bench at any given time? 30?
On a bench?
Yeah, like 30, 35?
No, not even close.
I mean,
30.
I'm including interpreters here now, as clearly the baseball's disciplinary committee did. So that's what I'm saying. Like human beings, all like any human being with fists and the gumption to want to throw them. Like, why are we adding 20, 30 more people to the fray?
Yeah,
like,
part of me
it's a simple
looks at
fix.
it like when you have that number of people who are on the benches already, is keeping the relievers out of it really going to make it bad? You know, I suppose there could be a hothead in there who is going to
throw gum, throw gum and throw peanuts, throw peanut bins on the field. You know what I mean? Like, it's just. That was the other thing, too. That was the circus-like aspect of it. Like, it's all over, and now here comes a guy who's pissed about getting ejected, throwing gum around. Like, now players are picking up gum off the infield. Like, what are we doing? You know, I mean, I don't know.
Can I be honest with you?
Yes, sir.
My favorite part of the whole
that
thing was Rendon going left-handed, like he did on the swing against Brett Phillips. But,
did he connect? Did he connect it like he did on Phillips, too?
He did.
Oh, my gosh.
It was a pretty good shot to the face. But my close second favorite part was the slow-mo shot of Raisel Iglesias seeding the field. That was awesome.
Is it the first instance of an interpreter ever being suspended by baseball? Is that
for an on-field incident? To my knowledge, yes. And I mean,
will the Angels be able to replace him as an interpreter, or will they will just have a communication problem for those two games?
I think that one day it may be problematic. Just make sure it's not on the day. Well, if we look at the rotation, I don't know that there's a Spanish-speaking starter.
Is Trout trying to get hooked on phonics real quick over the next 2 days to try and contribute in that respect? So I'm trying to lighten it up a little bit here, I guess. Oh, man.
I appreciate it.
Jeff Passan, thank you for the time, sir. Really appreciate it. Always enjoy our chats. Enjoy the time, the quiet time at home. Take care, brother.
I'm going to go do some chores.
Okay, and throw out that headset. That's garbage. I don't know where you got that from. It was terrible.
Bye, Rich.
Okay, take care. Jeff Passan, everybody. At Jeff Passan. One of our favorites.